We got so much to do today, so let's get right to it on Dead with Dave. For all of you that don't know already, this is a Halloween show. We talk about anything Halloween or horror related. And today, I want to start off with what's on my table. We have a lot of free stuff to talk about. Number one, and most notably, is from a fellow YouTuber by the name of 165 Alice 1002. I had put him on the show, I think it was episode 2 or 3, I'm not really sure, showing his Tesla tower. And he does some really amazing work. And he sent me this hard hat, this helmet that he made. And it has gash. It looks like a werewolf or something came and slashed across the top. And you know, you see his videos. If you haven't checked out his videos, please go check his videos out. He has some of the greatest detail in his props that he makes. And I never, you watch the videos, you see it on video, and you know video really doesn't do your props justice. It never really does. But seeing it in person, it is amazing. It's astounding how awesome and realistic this actually looks in person. So I want to thank him. It really is cool, man. Thank you very much. It's going to go here on the show in the background. I'm actually going to put him on the fat guy puker for now because sometimes I think he needs a little hard hat going. Probably not going to stay there, but I do think it's a good place for now. Thank you again. Again, everybody, go check out his channel. It's 165 Alice 1002. I'll put a link down below for you to just click on to go check that out. The other thing I want to talk about is why I have a bunch of bottles of fog fluid sitting on my table here. Recently, let me go back. I'm a big supporter of HoTcast, and I subscribe to HoTcast. And a couple episodes ago, I actually talked about fellow haunters going and subscribing to HoTcast. So one of the big things for being a subscriber is that you are entered into their drawings every month of different prizes from different vendors. In the beginning, they had a drawing of a huge amount of prizes, and I didn't win anything. Of course, I never win anything. But last month's show, I ended up winning a $200 gift card to Master Fog. Master Fog is a newer company in the fog business. They haven't been around that long, but they started coming out with their fog fluids. They also have haze fluids. They have a couple of fog machines and haze machines right now on the website. So when I heard that I won a $200 gift card to it, I was just like, I didn't believe it at first. And I did. So I went on the website and I ordered 9 gallons of fog juice, and that is awesome. It's really going to help out my haunt because I do go through a lot of fog juice, and I got different types of fog juice because they have an array of fog juice. They have one of my favorites ones that I picked up from them is this Code 6 fog juice, which is a extremely long, actually it says ridiculously long-lasting fog juice. It has a hang time of about 2 hours in the air. Of course, if you're doing it outside in the haunt, that gets diminished because of the wind blowing. But if you're inside, 2 hours of hang time, my God, that's insane. It's ridiculous, hence their name. I also got a couple gallons of ground clouds. Now, ground clouds is a fast dissipating fog juice. It's going to be perfect for my Halloween props that have fog effect in them, especially in my tent scene where I don't really want the fog to hang around for a long time. I just want to use it for the effect, like in my gas chamber or something, and then it goes away fast so we can reset for the next group of people to come in and take a look. So I got a couple gallons of this, a gallon of creeping fog, which is in here somewhere, which is designed specifically for home haunters. It's just an average hang time, great for low-lying fog, great for outside sceneries. So they have some other ones that are really cool products, really cool website to go to. I do want to thank them for the generosity to HoTcast. I want to thank HoTcast for their generosity back to us. I mean, my subscription to HoTcast was $100, and I won a $200 gift card. So I actually made $100 by subscribing to HoTcast. So please check out HoTcast. Go subscribe to them. It's worth it just for the shows. I mean, I don't need... When subscribing to HoTcast, I didn't need the win. I didn't need the prizes. I was just subscribing because I love Honcast, and I'm a big supporter of Honcast, big supporter of what Honcast does for the honk community. And but hey, $200 in fog is definitely a plus in my book, especially you haunters out there do know how much fog you go through during the season, and this is going to give me a couple years worth of fog. So that is awesome. So thank you, Master Fog. Go check out their website. I'll leave a link down below, like always. And go check out honcast.com and subscribe to them because they are definitely worth a subscription too. It's time for a little Q&A. Guy by the name of TerraProps here on YouTube sent me a question. And he writes in, "Hey Dave, I have a question. I'm building an elevator this year, and I just want your opinion on how I should open and close the elevator doors. I'm just stuck, and I thought I would ask you because you were very good at this sort of thing. Thanks, Demetrio." I'm a big believer in the simplest way is always the best way. So what is the simplest way? Have somebody stand there and open and close the doors manually. I know that's not the answer you want to hear. I'm sure you don't want to have somebody there opening and closing your doors. But technically, on the safest side of that, and on just having the functionality of it, just to be constant, having an actor there opening and closing the door is probably the easiest, safest, and quickest way to do it. But I know that's not what you want from me, so let's get more complicated. You can use motors to open and close the door on tracks, and it's a way to go. I wouldn't do it, though, because you have to get into a lot of switch work, having the doors stop at specific moments for when they're fully open. You're going to have to hit contact switches for the stop, and when they're fully closed, contact switches to stop the motor from driving. So I wouldn't go motors. Go pneumatics. Now, I don't know if you're doing a single door or you're doing two doors that close, open and close. I'm going to assume you're going to use two doors because that's kind of more realistic in an elevator way. You get two 18-inch door panels, 18 inches wide, so you have a 36-inch wide opening when it's all said and done. You're going to need two 18-inch stroke pneumatic cylinders. 3/4-inch bore, very small pneumatic cylinders. You're going to run those off one pneumatic solenoid so that they open and close simultaneously. You're also going to want to use extremely low PSI. Nothing more than 30 PSI. 30 PSI on a very small 3/4-inch diameter pneumatic cylinder like that is going to be your safest bet just in case somebody walks into the door while they're closing. It's also your easiest to do. They're just straight travel. You mount your cylinders horizontally. You just put a mounting bracket on the door itself, mount the pistons to the door frame. It also means you're going to have at least 20 inches on both sides of the doors for the ends of those cylinders to stick out. You got to remember, 18 inches of stroke means you have 20 inches sticking out the end. You got to keep all that in mind. And of course, you're going to have to hook them up to a controller or some type of manual switch or a controller to do them automatically with whatever synchronization you're doing for your elevator itself. If you want to go really safe, you can put a beam sensor in so that if somebody does step in front of the beam, if they go into the doorway, everything just shuts down and it's safe and nothing moves while that beam is broken. It's very easy to install. They're expensive though, but if you want to be safe, that would probably be your safest bet. Is definitely put a beam sensor in there. So if it's broken, nobody's in the way, nothing moves. So I hope that helped you out. If you need any more information, email me. I could talk to you a little bit more through email and get more detailed into it. So I hope that helped you out. And if anybody else has any ideas of it, please leave them in the comments down below, and I'm sure he will read them. Thank you. Now, I wanted to touch base real quick on a question that was asked to me about my 2-bar lift mechanism. He had asked if he can use a screen door closer instead of a pneumatic cylinder. The question actually came from the Dark Side HoT 360. Now, yes, I already did talk to him about this in the comments, and other people have actually answered him too. This is a screen door closer. A lot of haunters know that you can actually use these as pneumatic cylinders. You drill out the back end of this with the little valve is, which controls how fast it goes in and out. You put in a MPT fitting, hook up your air compressor, and pop, it acts like a cylinder. Now, I told him not to do it. And I don't think anybody should be using screen door closers as pneumatic cylinders. Yes, haunters do use them. I've seen a million how-tos on how to convert these into pneumatic cylinders. And people swear by them. You can get these for like $15 at Home Depot. A lot of people just find them in the garbage, you know, people throwing out their screen doors. There's a ton of these laying around. And they do function. But they're not safe whatsoever. If you pick up one of these and you pick up a real pneumatic cylinder of its comparable size, you will feel the difference in the quality of construction. If you put anything more than like 30, 40 PSI into one of these, it could possibly explode. And I mean literally explode. I've seen one explode. That's why I am telling you, please don't use them. I know a lot of people do use them, but they're not meant for that. And it's dangerous. Especially when you have these in your front yard and you got a bunch of little kids walking around in front of them. God forbid something happens. Your air pressure's too high. You forget to regulate it down. You forget to turn your compressor down. You forget. So many times I've had my air compressor jacked up to 165 PSI and I didn't realize it until I'm running my props and everything's going nuts. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to turn my pressure down because I was using it for something else. It's so simple just to forget. And just that one time forget, your valve blows out the back, something goes wrong, somebody gets injured. So please, this is not a pneumatic cylinder. It is to slow down the closing of your screen door, and that is it. Don't use them, please. And I know I'm going to get a bunch of shit in the comments. If you want to yell at me for it, go ahead. We'll argue it out in the comments below. Right, if you believe that these things are safe to use, write it down in the comments. I want to hear why you think they're safe to use. I would love to. But please, for the people that are just starting haunting, just getting into haunting, don't do it. Plus, you can buy one of these for $15 at Home Depot. You can get an air cylinder with the exact same stroke for another $10 from frightprops.com, from mcmastercar.com. What's the point? For $10, you're saving $10. There's absolutely no reason to use one of these. So, just my thoughts on it. If you don't agree, I'm sorry, but that's my thoughts. Now, a couple episodes ago, I had mentioned that Hotwire Foam Factory had sent me over a couple of products for me to do a review on. They sent me over a 6-inch hot knife. They sent me over 2 glues. They sent me over the Foam Fusion and their Styro Goo. Now, they also sent me over some coating, their foam coat, and a boost additive to that. I'm going to get into the foam coat and boost additive on the next episode because I want to give that its segment all to itself. I'm just going to focus on the 2 glues and the hot knife for this review. First thing we're going to talk about is their 6-inch hot knife. I already had a couple of their tools before. I had bought one of their kits. So they sent me over the one tool I don't have, which is their 6-inch hot knife. I do have a list of notes on it from when I did use it, because I did make this tombstone from it. So let's go over the list real quick and tell you what I like and what I don't like, break down some costs, and show you how I was using it for this tombstone. Now, my likes of this is it is a very strong construction. It's lightweight, but not lightweight in the way of cheap. Because a lot of times you feel something light, it feels cheap. This does not feel cheap. It is light though. Where the actual hot knife is very good attachment point. Doesn't wiggle at all where it attaches to the handle itself. It has these nice foam grips for when you're using it. Nice maneuverability, and being that it's light, it doesn't fatigue you, especially if you're doing some long time when you're doing a lot of cutting. Having a nice lightweight tool does help on the fatigue. This also does plug into their Pro Power Station, which I have over here. The Pro Power Station, which is sold separately, by the way, which is you plug all their hot wire tools into their Pro and their Craft Series tools. Plug right into this, which is really good because you can control the temperature of the knife just by turning this little dial. Sometimes you might want it hotter, sometimes you might want it colder if you don't want to go as deep. This really comes in handy, but this is sold separate. And we're not reviewing this, but you do have to have this to power this. The other great aspect to this knife is that it heats up almost instantaneously. As soon as you power it on, 10 seconds is at full heat and you can start cutting. And that is really good. It cuts a lot faster than the other hot knives I've used. I've used their 8-inch knife. I don't have theirs. A friend of mine does have their 8-inch knife. I've used that. I've used their 4-inch knife, and this does cut faster. The actual hot knife area itself seems to be a little thicker, so it seems to hold a lot more heat than their 4-inch blade does. Another thing that I found that was really nice is the blade is flexible. And the flexibility of it is good for doing wood grain work. If you want to make fake wood planks out of foam, wood grain work, you need a nice flexible blade. This makes it very good for that. Also doing for cracks. Having the flexible blade makes it easier, makes the cracks more realistic looking. And this knife cuts with very little smoke. It's very nice to have a nice clean cut with this. It gets super hot, but not hot enough that it actually scorches the foam. Now there's a couple things I don't like about it. And the one thing that I liked about it is also what I don't like about it. It has a flexible blade, which is good for doing some detail work, but it's not good for making straight cuts. If you expect to buy this to cut through a 6-inch piece of foam, because it is a 6-inch long blade, it's really not worth it, because the blade is going to flex so much as it's cutting through, you're not going to get a straight cut at all. I have noticed when I was cutting through 2 inches of foam that it would veer off on the tail end a little bit compared to the front end. Of course, you're watching the front as you cut. The tail end you can't see. It is wiggling around and it does veer off pattern. And if you're taking a full depth of cut, the full 6 inches, it cuts extremely slow. I think it's just having a hard time trying to keep that length of blade heated up cutting through foam. So it does cut slow, especially to that deep of material. So it could be an issue if you're wanting this tool to cut 6-inch thick pieces of foam or 5-inch thick pieces of foam. That can become an issue because it could take you forever to cut through it. Other than that, though, I really didn't find anything I would keep me from purchasing one of these. Now, the cost for this is $50. It's $49.95 on their online store. If you catch them at one of the HoT cons, any one of the shows, they do have run nice promotions there. You also get them in with a kit, which really saves you a lot of money. But it is definitely a tool I love now having in my arsenal of foam cutting tools. Now, next thing I wanted to give a review on is their Foam Fusion and their Styro Goo. They're 2 glues that they sent me to try out and use. And I'll run down the list again of what I like and what I don't like, and hopefully it helps you out in your purchases of buying glue. Now, I don't know if most of you have already seen, but Tara from Scary Lady Videos did a review on like 7 or 8 different foam glues on her channel, and she, stacked them up one by one and did a review on each one, which was the worst, which was the best. And she did do it on Styro Goo and Foam Fusion. And after seeing that, Hotwire Foam Factory gave me an email explaining to me what happened with Tara's experiment that she did. They had told me that she had maybe used too much glue, and it was taking the glue too long to dry, and wasn't giving the results they were seeing in their own testing. So they told me that to use a sparingly amount of glue and to try it. Now, I was already deep in the middle of building this tombstone and another tombstone, and I was finding the same things that Tara was finding, that the glue was taking forever to dry, and it really wasn't holding up. So I went back to the drawing board and redid it all again, because I want to give these products the best chance that I can give them in working properly into what the manufacturer has made them to do. So my first tombstone was this, which I glued together with the Styro Goo. It held together nice and tight, can't get them apart, but it severely left a gap in between. We're talking about a 1/4-inch gap sitting in the middle of this. So if you're trying to glue 2 pieces of foam together to make one tombstone, a 1/4-inch gap is just not going to work. There's not enough wood putty to fill it. Luckily, after that, Hotwire Foam Factory gave me an email saying not to use so much of the glue, and we shouldn't have this problem. So I went back and I did another tombstone. And as you see, it all worked out fine. We'll talk about the Foam Fusion first, and what I like and what I dislike. Number 1, it's very easy to work with. It's odor-free, very super easy to clean up. I mean, super easy to clean up. As you can see, I was kind of acting like a kid, because they say this is kid-friendly. So I'm acting like a kid, and I was just slopping it around and accidentally got it all over my clothes, just like a kid would do. And with just a little soap and water, it came right out. No problems. I didn't ruin my good jeans, and my fiance is not bitching at me later. So It is extremely kid friendly, which is good. So if it gets in the carpet, gets on the walls, gets on the ceiling, wherever kids do, you know how they are, it's perfect for a nice family project. Like I said, you only have to use a small amount, a very small amount. I used too much on the first time. Second time around, I just did a light skim coat on one side, put them together, weighted it, and they glued together just fine. And after being fully cured, after 24 hours, they are impossible to get apart. The other good thing about foam fusion, it does not expand while drying whatsoever. You get a very, very nice tight seam that you not see. In my tombstone, the seam on the side is very little. I used a little wood putty to fill it, but didn't even have to do that really. It really did give a nice tight seam all around. And on my base, give a very nice tight seam. No wood filler at all. I think once I put my final coating and paint, you won't even see any of the seams. Also, what's really cool about this glue is it cuts with Hot Wire Foam Factory's hot knives and other hot knives, but of course we're talking about Hot Wire Foam Factory here. It does cut with hot knives. It also cuts with other foam cutting tools, razor blades, scrapers, sandpaper. If you're sanding it does sand down. Now, what I don't like about this glue, very little, but it does make a big difference. It has an extremely long dry time. You're talking 24 hours to dry. And if you use it thicker, you can go to 48 hours just to dry. It must be weighed down or clamped. And it is so slippery. When you put the pieces together, say even when we're stacking up the base, it's so slippery. And when you put the weight on it, they just constantly sliding around and sliding around and sliding around. You got to constantly reposition until it gets a little bit of stickiness to it, which isn't much in the beginning. But once it does hold, it holds. And don't move it for 24 hours. Once the 24 hours are done, it should be cured. If you put it on too thick, it's not going to be cured. It's going to take a little bit longer, up to about 48 hours. They come in 4 sizes. They come in an 8-ounce bottle, a 16-ounce bottle, a 32-ounce bottle, and a 1-gallon size bottle. They range in price from $7 up to $70. The smallest one, $7. Guess the gallon is $70. My overall thoughts on it is I like it. It's just like Elmer's glue. It's just like working with Elmer's glue, but it's for foam. Elmer's glue is a air drying glue. Foam fusion is a chemical drying glue. So please do not mix the two up. They're different. Okay, Elmer's glue is Elmer's glue, and foam fusion is foam fusion. But I really do like it, and I think I'm going to just keep using this on my foam projects because I really did enjoy this product a lot. It's definitely worth, for a 16-ounce bottle, this size bottle is only $11.95. I mean, and I did 2 tombstones with that, and I only used that much. 2 tombstones. This size tombstone, I used that much glue. I mean, that, and I really slopped it on for one of those tombstones. So as you can see, I mean, it's really, I really do. I definitely endorse the foam fusion. On to the Styro Goo. The Styro Goo, which gave me that 1/4-inch gap in one of my first tombstones with this. But I did do it a second time, and I did learn the ins and outs of it, and I'll go over my likes and my dislikes. This has an extremely fast drying time, which is awesome, especially compared to the foam fusion. It tacks up very fast, so there's no sliding around. It sets up in about a half hour, fully cured in 12 hours. You gotta make sure it's fully cured before you want to paint it or do any your final, forming or anything like that. Again, a little goes a long way. You don't want to use much at all. When you use too much, it expands too much. So just a little bit on there, spread it out nice and thin, stick it together, and you're good to go. It'll bond almost anything. And it's actually a funny story because when I first got this, I didn't first use it on one of my projects. I fixed my screen door on the side of my house. I have a vinyl screen door, and I have a vinyl baluster that's on my deck. One of the balustrades broke in half. I glued that together first. Let me tell you, held it beautifully. You can't even tell there was a crack in there in the first place. My screen door, which constantly bangs open and closed, holding on tight. I glued all my seams back together with this. So I do it. It does bond everything, including foam. They actually have a list here. Foam, rubber, paper, glass, fabric, wood, plastic, metals, and cardboard, including foam. It does expand a little, which is good for if you want to attach, again, with the tombstone thing. top of your tombstone to the base of your tombstone, because sometimes there's a gap around the bottom. So you might want a little expansion to fill that gap up. So that's really good for that. And you can cut this with their hot wire foam factory knives. And it could also be sanded, cut with razors, formed with any other foam cutting tools you do have with no problem whatsoever. Now the dislikes. This is not kid friendly. Yes, it is toxic, and it does have an odor. So you must be careful of that. If you are going to have your kids use it, under parent supervision only. But I wouldn't suggest kids using it at all. It is extremely hard to clean up. If you do get this on your rug, ceiling, floor, drapes, or anything else, it ain't coming off. Okay, unless you get some solvents on there, and I'm sure it's just going to ruin it anyway. So you got to be very careful. Don't be a slob. And it does expand. Even in the littlest amounts, there is a slight expansion of it. It doesn't expand quite as much as, say, Gorilla Glue does. You know how Gorilla Glue expands, it kind of foams up, expands dramatically. It doesn't foam up nearly like that, but it does expand. So if you need a super small, tight gap, this is not the glue for you. Expanding can help in certain situations, but expanding can hurt you in certain situations. So that's up to your discretion if you need to expand or not. This does expand slightly, but even the slightest expansion can ruin a good seam. Now these come in 3 different sizes. They come in the 3.4 ounce, 8.5 ounce, and a 17 ounce. Ranging $3.50 a bottle up to $12 a bottle, $11.95. You know, this bottle, which is the 17 fluid ounces right here, is $11.95. So, is it worth it? I would say it is. I would say not just because they gave it to me, but it is a good strong glue. Let me tell you, the parts that I did glue together are strong. And like I said, I glued my screen door together with it, and that thing constantly slams open and closed. It's not even, there's no giving it at all. Those joints are solid. This is probably one of the strongest glues I've ever used. It is super strong. So and it's perfect for outdoor use, waterproof, weatherproof, snow, ice, everything. So this is a perfect glue for anything like that. The only thing that I don't like about it is its expanding properties. If I need a nice tight seam, it bothers me that there's a seam there. So would I buy it? Yes, I would buy it. It's cheap. For this big bottle, it's $11. I mean, $11.95. It's cheap. And like I said, I did 2 tombstones with this one, and I only used that much. It little goes a long way. Plus, I fixed my screen door and my baluster on my deck. My favorite of the 2 is the Foam Fusion, of course. I will definitely be using this glue again for all of my foam projects because of its ease of cleaning up, family friendly, and it's overall just how good it's easy to use. And that's why, you know, I'm definitely going to stick with this glue. This glue here, I probably won't use that much, but I do have a lot of it now. If I run out, I might buy some more. We'll see. We'll see how I use it in the next couple of months. See if more projects come up that I need a glue like that. And I'll let you know. Well, I hope this review has helped you out in making choices on using glues and the Hot Wire 6-inch Foam Factory knife. If you have any more questions on these products, please ask me. I can give you straight up answers and tell you exactly if it's good for whatever you need it for. I am short on time here, so I'm ending this segment now. It is hard to do a full review in only a couple of minutes, so we're just going to move on. But I want to thank Hot Wire Foam Factory for giving me the opportunity to test out their products. And again, on the very next episode of Dead with Dave, I'm going to be reviewing their foam coat and their boost additive to finish off this tombstone and the other ones that I made. Keep an eye out for that show. Well, this turned into a very long episode of Dead with Dave, and I really hate when they're this long. And I definitely hate when the whole episode is me talking. I like to show you things. I don't like to talk about it endlessly. I just did 30 minutes of me talking, and I really didn't show you that much. So to make up for my excessive talking through this entire episode, I am going to give Fat Guy Puker permission to put his segment on. Normally he just does it on his own, but today I'm actually going to give you permission to do what you do best. So, Fat Guy, take it away.
Come on and throw this dog a bone. Come on
Huh. That's different, huh? What's with the dudes?
EXY, from your head to toes you fly, you sexy, yeah, yeah, you sexy, so sexy, all the boys